the thing when you see more of a oppression or an oppression is when like a demonic or a negative energy that somebody's invited into their life on purpose or unintentional, that they will have more of they'll talk to you, they'll interact with you, they will, if it's an oppressive force, you will still have that person being themselves, but they will say, like, it hurts, or, those types of things, like, they will be getting hurt by the entity. That being said, it's, they'll make decisions in their lives to appease the entity. Like, again, this is just as rare as demonic possession or a demon activity. And demonic possession is when you lose that person entirely, and that there's another force that takes over, and it looks very similar to mental illness, and I'm just going to say that straight out. And it's a really fine line. There's a few things, and it really is picking up on the little things that you could tell the difference. It's really hard. But for me, it's pretty easy. But for just like, say, a doctor, a psychiatrist, many, many times they end up getting institutionalized or something like that, because there really is no explanation. If they go to a church or a religious place to get help, they'll end up saying people that have mental illness are possessed, and that's really not getting them the help that they need either. So there's two extremes to that. But yeah, it's, I've seen it. I've seen it happen. I also believe in transference. So if you have a sexual abuse by somebody who is sexual abuse, physical abuse, some kind of person that has had demonic, they've invited demonic activity into their life, they can pass that on to the victim.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, but that is even more rare. So.
Is there anything you would want to speak on, in the sense of, like, people out there that could be listening, that you would like to say that have abilities? What would you tell somebody like yourself at a young age?
You are normal. You are totally okay.
Yeah.
It is, you are okay. The other part of that spectrum is you're not super special. Don't get a big head. So, but just, you are totally normal. This is something that has happened since the dawn of time. They've had people, like we've talked about, shamans or medicine people that have done this. It's just, in our more recent history, we don't really talk about it that much. That's a really big deal, is just to know you're normal and what you're experiencing. You can be okay. There are ways that you can have control over it. You don't have to live at the whim of just things happening to you. You can use your others, learn to talk to your guides, and you have a whole team of people. But this is my message for everybody. You have an entire team of angels and others and people that were formerly alive that are there for you, to help you. And it's like, I really hold on to, if you knew who stood beside you, you would fear nothing.
So, I like that. So you believe everybody has spiritual guides, spirit animals.
Yeah.
Is there any way that you have you told people what they are? Have people asked what they are? I'm just saying, how do you see it?
I'm gonna share a little funny story.
You're good. Like, I'm into it. I'm right now.
So this has to do with Rich. He's in the room, so he knows. But I also got permission beforehand.
That's Rich.
It's Rich. So it's kind of funny. So we were hanging out and we were sitting down. One of the first ways I get people to speak with their others is through their spirit animal. It's the easiest way to do this and to figure it out. It's an animal that has been a theme in your life. So you'll have a special encounter with them, and they kind of pop up here and there. Even if it's a mystical creature, like a dragon or something. I know that's kind of weird, but most of them are really boring. But so I can see what their spirit animal is, but I just wait and see if they could figure out what it is, and then I'm like, there you go. And then once they get that, they could kind of start to see the patterns and the ways that those animals have interacted with them in their lives.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's funny because as you're saying this, I'm like, oh, I'm a pack leader. I know I'm a pack leader. Like, I don't know. Like, when you're like spirit animal, I'm like, I automatically know it's
yeah, you know, yeah.
It's either that or a donkey because I'm a jackass. So.
It's not a donkey. So,
right.
But
so it's either wolf, dog,
right.
something, or I'm a donkey.
Right. So, but you know how you just picked up on that because you know what you know what you know, and that's how I feel when I do stuff. But this helps people to hone in on this.
Okay.
This ability to know what you know what you know.
Yeah.
So I was talking with Rich, and we were kind of going through the whole, you know, well, why don't you just know the lottery numbers, and why don't you know that whole part of it? And he was saying to me, so what's my spirit animal? I'm like, I'm not telling you. You know, you gotta kind of get into that and feel it out. And he's like, this is easy for you, just tell me. By the way, this is how my friendships go. So, and so then I'm like, you can do the work here, you can do it. And then he was really hounding me, and as you guys, if you've listened to his podcast here at Whiskey Tango Talks, you know he's very logical. He makes a lot of sense. And so I was breaking down, and I was like, I don't want to tell him. And Sally was over here on my shoulder, like, just tell him. And I'm like, but he could do work here. And so he kept pounding me, and then for some reason, I just was like, fine, I give up. Between him and Sally, I'm not fighting with these two anymore. So I was just kind of tapping into it to make sure, because I knew it was a bird of prey, and then right away, but I wasn't really looking into it. I wanted to see him figure it out. And then he was standing up for some reason, and then I was just feeling the energy. My hands were literally going up, and I was feeling the energy, and I was like, owl, eagle, hawk. Eagle, hawk, eagle, hawk. And then he was still standing up. He got almost all the way up, and I felt it, and I just go, hawk. And he turned around, and his face, he was just like, what did you just say? And I said, hawk. And then he like proceeds to pull out an entire hawk feather collection he has. Wow. Oh, I never told you about my hawk. Oh, they fly and they like hang out right by me when I'm doing my adventure runs, and I'm just like, well, yeah, duh. So I mean, it's stuff like that. It's pretty cool. It's exciting when it happens. But yeah, I mean, basically, your spirit animal is the easiest way to connect with spirit at first. Mine is a black jaguar panther, and it makes so much. But I had a similar experience. Was a shaman friend of mine, Eric. He's the one who told me that, and he was like, "Have you had any experiences with panthers?" I was like, "No, I don't get it. Like, I figured it'd be like a sparkly unicorn or something, you know." And then I went home, and that ex-husband was like, "What do you mean? I was on Panther cheerleading squad for 14 years old. I had gone to the zoo, and they had a black jaguar in there who was following me around and purring. And there's just so many panther experiences. I was like, oh, duh." You know what I mean? And it's not that I just was never open to animal kind of spirit at that time. I can recall very distinct times when I could feel him come around.
Even Native Americans.
Right.
Like a lot of them all believe, not just in one tribe, but a lot of tribes. Like what's your tiki or your totem? Yeah, totem pole animal, or what is? And
I do believe it's a totem, because I think there is one main one for every person, but I also think you have a lineage of animals that are handed down to you from your family.